Here we go. If anybody has any questions, okay, send me an email, make an appointment, and I will slot you in between now and the end of term, or I'll point you in Mr. Simon's direction and he will answer the questions as well, I'm sure. Okay, so couple of little sort of heads up for you. Number one, we're into open day season big time. As I said to your parents and I've said to you, on the UCAS hub, as soon as you put in the subjects which you want to potentially look at, you can or should start to get notifications about open days, although I know last Friday a large number of you went to either Bath or Bristol. The second thing is, sorry, I was going to finish that one. If you need time off during school, a school day, email me, okay, and I will sort that with attendance as well. So that makes that fairly straightforward. If you go straight to attendance, they come back to me and say, is it all right? And then I have to go back to attendance. So that takes a little bit of a time. Secondly, if you are applying particularly to a Russell Group university, make sure you know whether or not you need to take an additional test. Okay? They will be done, most of them by Pearson. I think there's a couple of Cambridge tests which are done by Cambridge online, but you need to check if you need to do a test. Look at the requirements for the courses you are applying for. As I said, I know that for our medics, vets and the dentists, the UCAS registration is open. You can now register for a test. You can pick your dates, etc. But if you've got some of the others, check the registration dates because they vary. But most of the tests will be in early November. So let's proceed. So today we are going to look at the personal statement. Okay? The reason we are doing this as a separate assembly is because it is the only part of your application that really you have a great deal of say over. Let's just run through our dates. So we're here on our personal statement assembly. On the 8th of July, Monday the 8th of July, you're going to be given some time in a computer room to work on your personal statement. Your tutors will be given some bits and pieces to help you with that. Can I remind our early entry people that obviously the end of September is your application for the UCAS deadline of 6 p.m. on the 15th of October. The others of you need to get your application in as soon as possible thereafter. So, preparation is the key when it comes to the personal statement. Okay, one thing I will say, and I may have repeated it elsewhere, it is not an AI statement. Okay, it is your personal statement. UCAS run every single personal statement through their plagiarism software. They have also now taken large numbers of them and put them through AI to see what AI would come up with, and that is also in the data bank. So if you think you can get away with writing a personal statement using some AI, can I warn you, your application can be rejected. Okay, if your application is rejected for plagiarism, depends upon how much there is in there, but it could be, you could be cancelled for an application in 2025. So just have that as a warning, and don't be tempted to go online and look at other personal statements. Okay, I will be supplying, and I will put on Google Classroom, a bank of personal statements that have been used before. So you've got some ideas. I think there's about 35, 40 of them there in a Word document which you can have a look at, and they're by the subject which people have been applying for. I've accumulated them over the years. Okay, but obviously you don't copy and paste from there. So it's important that you think about that when you're writing your personal statement. One or two people have said, well, if I don't get in this year, just to say, if you reapply next year for some reason in 2026, yes, the personal statement is changed, but if you were to use parts of that again, it's not an issue because they know you were the person who wrote it. So that's something just to remember. So let's just deal with the two myths. Myth number one is that the universities do not read your personal statement. The question is, they may not read it now, and I'll explain why in a minute. Or secondly, some universities actually base your offer on your personal statement. So I'm saying, do your research. They say where in those criterion that you have put down that your personal statement comes in. Can I say, if nothing else, should you not quite make the grade in summer of 2025, you know, you're off by 1 grade, off by 2 grades, it is the personal statement that they refer to before they completely reject you. So that's why a good personal statement, well sort of thought out, is important. Can I say universities are not looking to turn you down? You're worth about, if nothing else, you're worth about £36,000 to them. Okay? They want you to go to their university, but you have to meet certain criteria. So, both of those, so they don't read them, that's false. Some don't initially, okay? Some do initially. Do your research and find out what the universities are looking for, because it's all there. Okay, so here we go. Some courses use it other than predicted grades. That's their starting point. I've already said that. If you've got 2 students who've got the same grades, then a strong personal statement could make the difference between you getting an offer or not. And also, if at confirmation, I've said this, you slipped a grade, the personal statement could well be looked at to help you or help them make a decision. So, can I say this is your personal statement is your opportunity to promote yourself to admissions tutors, to help you stand out, okay, to explain why you want to study the course that you have applied for. That is almost a vital thing to put in there. Can I say for the Oxford and Cambridge people, there's a slightly different bit to this, and that will all be explained to you on another point in time. What makes you the perfect candidate for this course? Okay, and I'll explain the things you mustn't say in a minute. And it's the only really individual bit that you have a great deal of say over. Yes, you've got your GCSEs, but everything else is fairly straightforward. So, what should it look like? Right, so your personal statement should be about 75% academic and talking about the course, talking about your A-levels, talking about why you want to study that particular course. As I say to people, have a look at what you're going to study in that first year of that course and see if there's anything in there you can write about, if you like, that rattles your cage. It's the thing that really grabs you about that particular course. That's important. About 25% is about you as a person. Okay? What is it that you do? What is it that makes you stand out from everybody else? What is it that makes you an individual? Okay? And as I've said, I've repeated again, admissions tutors are looking to take you on. They're not looking to reject you. Over half term, I've got a good friend who's part-time admissions tutor at Southampton University, and we went through all of this, and as he says, we're not looking to reject students. We are looking to take you on, okay? We want to hopefully that you will fit in where you go on the particular course. Okay, so 3 main issues that you need to look at. Number 1, why do I want to study this course? Okay, why are you applying? What research and understanding have you done about the course or the profession that it may lead to? There's nothing wrong in saying I'm taking this course because I plan to do something in 3 years' time. I want to be something. I want to do this. Okay? That's a good thing to put in there. Okay? Interest and understanding of the subject area. Okay? As I've said here, note, not all courses with the same title are the same. So have a look at the 5 you are thinking of. Have a look, as I said, what you're going to study in the first year. Look at some commonality in there and put that in. Why are you suitable for the course? What is it about you that you've done that makes you able to do this? An understanding, as I've said, of the course and the profession that it may or may not lead to. Okay? Obviously, if you're going to study medicine, it's fairly obvious where you're going. Okay, if you're studying psychology, for example, it may be because you actually want to go into helping people further down the road. You might have plans to be a social worker. You might want to do some psychology in the real world. You might be applying, say, to do English because actually your real desire is to teach, to become a secondary school teacher. Can I tell you it is the best profession in the world? I've done it for 43 years. It is still the best profession in the world. Okay, that might be your aim. Okay? Okay, how do your current studies relate? So the subjects you've taken, how do they fit in with what you want to study? Demonstrate your research, that you've actually done some research. There's nothing wrong with saying, you've only got 4,000 characters, but there's nothing wrong with saying, you know, on the open day I looked at, or I went to the subject course, and this particular lecturer said something that I really enjoyed listening about and want to learn some more about it. And what I would say to you is read some professional documentation. Okay? There are loads and loads of professional societies. Okay? Look them up, see what they're saying, see what the current trends are. Number 2, what can you offer to this particular course? Talk about your experiences of life and how it has prepared you for the course. Okay? This is where, and I'll answer the question, I've had 2 people email me, this is where you might talk about your work experience. You can also talk about your job, maybe, and you say, you know, I'm working at Asda, which you might think, no, okay? However, I have to relate to the customers, and I've had this particular situation. I have to relate to some very much older managers, or maybe you've been promoted and you're sort of looking after a department, and you have to actually deal with some semi-retired people who are helping. All of that talks about you as a person and what you've learned from it. Okay? And there's all of this. So it's not a list of I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that. Okay? It's pick a few very select things that you can write about and what you have learned from them, how it has helped you develop, how you have grown as a person as a result of doing these particular things. So number 3 is how do other interests support and complement your studies? What have you gained and how have they developed you as a person? You know, it might be that you have done your DFE expedition, you might have done bronze and you might have done silver. You know, on your silver expedition, it rained every day and you felt like giving up. Okay, my youngest son did his gold DFE in Wales, on the mountains of North Wales, and he reckons it rained from 360 degrees and it rained for 5 days. He said by the end of day 3 he didn't have a dry piece of clothing, but they carried on regardless. Okay? I'm sure yours wouldn't be that bad, but what I'm saying is what he learnt from it. They learnt that they had to support each other when it got really tough. There might be things that have happened in your life that you may see as being negative. Try and look at some positive experiences from them. Okay? So include things you're proud of. Okay? Things that make you unique. Okay, coaching, teamwork, drama group, music skills, volunteering, religious activities, anything like that which you put down, which makes you, you, and things you have learned from them are very, very valuable skills. I know that somebody a couple of years ago was a member of a music group in a church, and they had to deal with old people and they had to deal with young people and they had to deal with children and all of that. They wrote about a whole paragraph about the different people they'd had to deal with and how they dealt with it. And actually it was then picked up on interview. That was all they talked about during their interview, nothing else that they'd written. So obviously that was a valuable experience. So put those down for that. Other issues. Okay, what have you gained from your A-level subjects? Okay, what have you learnt as a result of sitting there in the classroom? Not just the course content, but as I've said, what have you yourself learnt personally as a result of that? What is your potential to study the course? If you are planning to take a gap year, and there's nothing wrong with either deferred entry or taking a gap year, what are you planning to do during your gap year? We have had students who've turned around and said, I literally need to work for the whole year so that I've got enough money to go to university. That is a perfectly good plan. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that at all. Possibly put down what are your aspirations. No, you can't put down I'm going to rule the world by 30. You know, but you may say I'm going to do maths and I want to become an accountant because I plan to work for a large corporation or a large bank by the time I'm 30. That's where I'd like to be. Makes you realise that you've actually had some thoughts. And are there any personal circumstances, challenges that have affected your performance, maybe, and you can explain that to the admissions tutors, okay? There's just whatever's happened to you in your life, you may think that this is unique to you and it might be awful. It's not actually. They've probably seen it all before, but it just helps them understand what makes you tick and what is you. So, a good personal statement. You've got 4,000 characters and 47 lines. Can I say you do not need to fiddle the words and alter the words to get as close as possible to the 4,000 characters? I happen to know a particular student who's doing medicine now, happens to be my son, who was determined to get it as close to and he changed particular words for longer and shorter words to get it in. No, you don't have to. They're just saying they don't want to read masses. The minimum, can I say, is 1,000 characters. It needs to be well structured with a good use of English. Don't start sentences with because and but. You know, the sort of things you would put in your texts. You know, no text speak. Make sure it's fluent and logically expressed. Lay it out clearly with paragraphs. And lay out, can I say, if you're a bit short of space, you know, you can leave out those spare lines. Have a look, there's a preview, have a look at how it lays out. And when you go into the preview, can I say, if you've got half a line, then probably you can delete the extra space line, okay, and bring it up if you're a bit short of space. But have a look at the layout. Check it again. And what I always say is then leave it for several days. Put it to one side. That means you are writing it in November, not January the 6th, before the deadline on the 7th. Or like one particular student who submitted the most dire personal statement ever. They submitted it at 5:45 on deadline day. There was only 15 minutes to go, expecting me to cross-check it, reference it, read the personal statement, check all the bits and pieces. It didn't go for 6 o'clock, but I did get it through for 7. Okay? And then I said, come back to it. Personally, what I do whenever I'm writing something, okay, is I print it off and, can I say, read it out loud. Okay? Your family won't think you're nuts, but I do it at home. If I've written a letter which is important, I will actually print it off and I will just move away from the computer and I will sit and I will read it out loud. You spot the mistakes when you read it out loud. Okay, strong personal statement. Enthusiasm. This has come from UCAS. Enthusiasm, natural and honest. Personal and general interest. You've obviously done some research. You've done some wider reading. Okay? As they say here, it's not what you've done, but how you think about what you've done. That's important. And it's show, not tell. Show what you've done, not just come up with a list. So what about a weak personal statement? Number one, they admit why they want to study the course. Poor understanding of the subject. These are all the basic. Fails to show experience or awareness of qualities, skills. Has irrelevant content in there, and I'll give you some examples of irrelevant. Purely written, as I said, sentence starters, you know, if, but, these sort of things. Repeated information. In other words, they've talked about, oh, I'm going to do really well in this subject, and these are my the predicted grades are elsewhere. They don't need to know about that, but talk about the subject. Maybe talk about how you have actually progressed towards what you hope to be as a good predicted grade. Okay, so here's an example. that I've put in here. I'm going to read it to you because this is a typically good statement, okay? So it says, at Tesco, I work with a variety of different people, whether it be liaising with my managers to negotiating upcoming shifts or helping a customer locate an item on the shelves. It is my responsibility to ensure customers have the best possible experience. I do this by constantly building and revising my product knowledge and working effectively alongside colleagues with different areas of specialism. Okay, that is an outstanding statement there. You can see it talks about relating to other people. It talks about development. Okay, so that's a really good example, and I'm sure you can take something similar from what you've done. To be avoided. Okay, I'm an enthusiastic, charismatic, easily likable student. I'm an aspiring lawyer. Sentence. That was it. Okay, I have a driven personality. I believe that I'm ready for university life because the criteria needed for success is within me, and I believe I have the perfect personality and work ethic to succeed. Can I throw up now? Okay. Believe me, I've seen them. Okay, the worst, these have come from personal statements. Okay, these are from personal statements written by maiden early pupils. Okay, I've had a love of reading from a very young age, from the time I could read The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Okay, I'm never happier than when I'm reading. That's why I want to study English language and literature at Oxford. Okay. The G&D's ice cream that's sold there is the best. I am applying for deferred entry as I'm having a gap year. I think that's fairly obvious. Those have come from personal statements. I can assure you they were red-penned. Okay, last few bits and pieces. Plagiarism. As I've said, every UCAS now have goodness knows how many personal statements in their library, which they use the computers now to cross-reference them. Okay. Last year, I had somebody whose personal statement and application was rejected within 5 minutes of it being submitted. That's how fast the computer did the checks, which is quite interesting. Okay, so, UCAS, can I say they do view all social networking? Okay, so be careful what you have said, and can I suggest it's a good idea maybe to have a bit of a clear out. Okay? They do look you up. Okay? Don't use text language. We've already talked about your email address, and AI, do not use the AI because they will find you out. Okay. Make it your own and do not get input from loads of different people. What we say in school is, by all means, we will read your personal statements. We have had students who have sort of put out about 20 copies. You know, they give one to Miss Cheshire, they give one to me, they've given one to Miss Birch, they've given one to each of their subject teachers, okay? And all of them have some kind of input and have some kind of correction to it. You know, aunts and uncles and all the rest. And basically, it ends up with a complete mash. It's no longer your personal statement. What I would say to you is give the personal statement to no more than 2 members of staff in school and possibly mum or dad to read. That's all the input you need. So if you're going to study physics, let your physics teacher, as the firm does, read your personal statement. Can I say one thing about this? It takes at least 48 hours, if not longer, for your subject teachers to have a look at your personal statement. They do have other things to do. Okay, I know one student last year who gave me their personal statements at 9 o'clock, and by 10 o'clock they were free and they came to say, have you read it yet? They nearly got it in an inappropriate place because no, I hadn't done. I had a big pile and I said, look, I need 48 hours. I've got piles to do. You know, it takes us a while. As I said, do it early and give it what I call sit time. Just let it ruminate, write it, maybe get some corrections and then come back and have a look at it. Look at the examples I will put on Google Classroom. There is a tool on the UCAS Hub that asks questions And you can fill, if you answer those questions either on the tool or in a Word document, it'll help you structure your personal statement for that as far as it goes. That is it from me for this morning.